let's go, because you know what I came here to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
So, IFL TV, trying to stir up the masses, and it always works. Now they're saying that Tyson Fury has surpassed Jack Dempsey's record of 7 years and 2 months to become the second longest reigning lineal heavyweight champion of all time. Now, how can you surpass Jack Dempsey's record to become the second longest reigning? The record belongs to the longest reigning, and that's Joe Louis, 11 years, right? And they're talking about a fantastic feat. And then the Tyson Fury fans, they jump in, talking all types of crap. Like, I reply to it and I say, really? Joe Louis was lineal champion for 11 years. Somebody replies to me, the original tweet does say second, where is the mistake then? Well, the mistake is, you can't hold the record and you're second. Whether you're Jack Dempsey or Tyson Fury. And I haven't went to BoxRec. Jack Dempsey has long periods of inactivity within that reign. Long periods, probably up to 3 years. Where he's off acting, gallivanting around being a celebrity. And I reply to him and say, fair enough, but are Pianetta, Sefri, Schwartz, Wallin, in your opinion, legit world title defenses? If you answer yes, you expose yourself. This idiot replies to me, Fury wasn't champ when he fought those times. Wait to expose yourself, you absolute salmon. So this is what I'm saying about the Tyson Fury fans. You're saying he wasn't champ when he fought Sefri, Wallin, etc., etc. So where did the lineage start? His lineage start from when he beats Deontay Wilder, or did it begin when he beat Vlad? No skills in deduction, processing information, critical thinking, disseminating information, and explaining information. Nothing. And look what he's saying there. To be fair, he won the lineal title after beating Vlad, so technically those fights listed constituted defenses of the lineal title. Even though when he won all the free scraps from Vitali, none of you motherfuckers who support Tyson Fury was calling him a lineal champion. None of the press, media or fans. Show me. You was calling him WBA, WBO and IBF champion. Unified champion, that's what you was calling him. No lineage came into it. It wasn't until he fucked it all up. Then you started all this lineal talk, especially when AJ got the belts, and it pissed you off so much. Before that, you didn't even know nothing about lineage of the championship or anything like that. You weren't speaking about it. Not once in your life. Joe Louis made 25 defenses in 11 years. Larry Holmes made 20 defenses in a little under 7 years. And they were all mandatories and voluntaries. So Sefri was a mandatory, and Pianetta was a mandatory and Schwartz. Is that what you're telling me now? Let's say your lineal champion won the title in November 2015. That means he hasn't made a mandatory defense until, 2021? And that's a champion? When Larry Holmes racked up 20 defenses in that time period, just under 7 years or whatever. How can you claim that as a record with the disparity of numbers that Larry Holmes racked up in a similar time? It's kind of like the trilogy. Oh, well, I'm going to be the first man to have how many trilogies and win them all. It's just like, come on, man, look. It's pitiful. Go get that match made against Usyk for Undisputed and get a real accomplishment. Fight for Undisputed and get a real accomplishment. Not, I'm drunk at the pub making up stuff. I'm going to put it out there into the ether and some idiots are going to co-sign. David scored a knockdown with a beautifully timed jab in the first round. Landed a good uppercut against Dmitro Besus. 6'6.5" Ukraine heavyweight. Big guy. 78.5 each reach. He was 10-0, no defeats, no draws, 5 wins inside the distance going into the fight. Adeleye goes to 11-0, 10 inside the distance after this win. Adeleye looks like he's bulking up, it's noticeable. 10-8 first round. The opponent's trying to be more aggressive this round here. Besus connected with a very good left hand, but David took it very well. And shortly after that, David finished it. Like, he used Besus' aggression against him, and as Besus gave up his height and his reach, trying to be aggressive, while David had his back to the ropes, he hit his opponent with a right hand to the body, high up on the torso, but that was almost like a decoy punch. Besus didn't see the left hook, floored him. He got back up, gloves up, ready to go. Referee waved it off. Should he have waved it off? I don't know. I think a lot of these stoppages these days are a little premature.
David Adeleye that was a little bit special. I think anybody caught with that one would have gone over. And I hope now we're going to push, and I hope we can make the fight with Wardley this year with him. And I think that'll be a great title fight and it'll be a good fight for David.
Will the board order that fight? Or will Eddie, Frank, or will Eddie and Francis or George be able to make a deal? David Adeleye versus Fabio Wardley for the British title. Yeah, I can go for that. Way too early for a breakdown though, people. Way too early. You know what I mean? Let's see how far talks and negotiation go. See what Eddie Hearn says to that. Fabio Wardley, more importantly. It's not like we really needed John Fury to confirm this one, but a receipt is a receipt. And we'll take the receipt, John. Thank you very much. We'll take the receipt. That's what the delay is with Tyson. They won't pay him what he's worth. They want him for nothing. They want to make the money. They want the lion's share and to give Tyson the small end. But that ain't going to wash with us. It's the Fury's way or the highway. We bow down to no one. We are the kings of the ring at the minute. So he's obviously talking about the Saudis. And the first thing popping up in my mind is how much money did Tyson Fury turn down? Because Usyk agreed to his deal with them. How much money did he turn down? Eddie Hearn, of course, he got in there. He said the fight is not big enough. Eddie Hearn claims Tyson Fury bout with Alexander Usyk is not being hosted in Saudi Arabia because it doesn't involve Anthony Joshua, claiming his fighter may be the only guy who can command that kind of money. Eddie's doing the sales pitch thing, but, you know, let's be honest. AJ needs to re-establish his reputation as a pugilist. Apparently, the O2 Arena isn't even sold out, or it wasn't sold out first day. I would imagine most of the tickets have gone now. But AJ needs to re-establish his credentials, his reputation, and he needs a good win against Franklin, and if Dillian is next, he needs a good win there. And then we can talk about the drawing power, because 2 good wins, the drawing power, I believe, will be right back up there. Then we can say, yeah, AJ can go to the Saudis, he can do this, and if we match him with Wilder, Fury, or this guy, it's going to be huge gates, huge numbers. You know? Everything has a limit. Even AJ's drawing power. He has to reestablish himself. The difference between AJ and Wilder is that there's no fight across the pond in terms of boxing that he can make any money or generate money that would satisfy Showtime. They weren't going to put the funds together for the Ruiz fight, but, you know, AJ was in negotiation to fight Tyson Fury even after 2 losses. And Bob Arum, when asked about an AJ fight just the other day, just a couple of days back, he said, yes, it's something we will look at for summer of this year. Contrary to Frank Warren saying that, no, they're not going to fight AJ. So AJ still has the drawing power, but he's pretty much dependent on who he's matched with. Whereas before, he could have fought anyone and sold out a stadium and done a bucket load of pay-per-view buys. So he has to re-establish himself, but he still is a draw. It's a little bit of a two-way answer. It's not just simple saying, yes, he's a draw or no. But here's the thing, yeah? All the top fighters are potential draws if they're matched correctly and if the fights are made. Wilder could be a big draw if he's matched correctly. So whereas he's struggling to get the Showtime money for the Ruiz fight, if they were to go to DAZN, they'd pay for that fight, and both of them would be compensated well, and that fight would be well received. And that runs through all the other weight classes as well. We get into the habit of that guy's a draw, that guy's a draw, that's not a draw, that's not a draw. But if they're matched right, their market value, regardless of what numbers they're doing currently, their market value will increase.
Are you going to make a play for Wilder?
Absolutely.
I'm being serious, yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to make Deontay Wilder against Andy Ruiz. I think it's a great fight. It's been ordered, and we'd love to try and make it happen.
Do you know any more details about his kind of situation? We know come out as a free agent.
Why is Wilder versus Ruiz being prioritised by Eddie Hearn? Well, I know why. Why is that being prioritised over Ruiz versus Hrgovic? Isn't Hrgovic got promotional ties to DAZN and Eddie? I guess it's Wasserman's problem now. But, you know, Hrgovic is stuck. If he can't get that Ruiz fight, you know, that was for the interim belt, he's back in the situation he was last year, where he couldn't get nobody to fight him for that eliminator. But, you know, Wilder's the bigger draw, and Eddie wants to get involved in that mix there. Obviously trying to build up this AJ fight. Or maybe a Ruiz AJ rubber match. Who knows? We'll see. And it's like, you know, everyone wants to talk about the PBC schedule, the DAZN schedule, the Showtime schedule, etc., etc., the Sky schedule, the BT schedule. But what about when you look at the overall schedule? You know, like 1st of April, Joshua versus Franklin, O2 Arena. I want to big up London Runs Boxing as well. 8th of April, Stevenson versus Yoshino. That's Stevenson's debut at 135. 15th of April, Joyce Zhang. Rakimov versus Cordina, 22nd. So that's DAZN, ESPN, BT. 2 of them cards are DAZN cards, BT, ESPN. That's a healthy looking April. But if you separate and concentrate on one network and promotions schedule for April, you'd be like, oh, that's fucking shit. That's fucking shit. And we do have a very negative aura about how fans view other networks and other promotions. It's toxic. It is very toxic. Deontay Wilder is now a free agent. Even Eddie Hearn teased that talks could pave the way to an Anthony Joshua super fight. Now, this is just what I was talking about, right? Wilder only done 77,000 pay-per-views last time against Robert Helenius, yeah? Bring Wilder to the UK, Anthony Joshua. That would be the biggest fight on British soil ever. Wilder versus Joshua. Wilder wisely, while stating he's a free agent, he says he's still on good terms with PBC, but he's speaking to other outfits. He told 78 Sports TV, no bad blood, I'm still part of the PBC. I'm just an open agent, an open fighter. He's saying open agent rather than free agent. Is he really free then? That's a little, like, terminology is important often, but we'll get into that a little more at another time. He said he wants to fight on all platforms. He's willing to work with everyone. He has no problem with the PBC. We're still thriving. We're still working together. As far as I know, me and Al Heyman still communicate. There is no bad blood. A lot is opening up right now with the PBC. I'm not interested in Deontay Wilder fighting Ngannou. If it happens, it happens, but I'm not interested in that. But this is an exciting period for Wilder and the PBC fighters because they're coming away from that side of the street and they're joining the party now. They're willing to travel. They're willing to explore deals. They're willing to work with other factions. The post-Al Heyman, this side of the street era could be what revives American boxing, right? This could be what revives it. Like right now, Stephen Fulton is getting everybody's praise, going over to Japan for greatness, bro. And we respect that. Tony Harrison, looking to revive his career in Australia. And look, a lot of people are saying good riddance to Al Heyman, all the PBC fighters are deserting him. Maybe Al is advising them to take these deals right now because the budgets are a little compromised with Showtime. Obviously, all is not right. So maybe this is the new phase. Outsource the work. I mean, Al still gets paid off them. If you're an open agent, if you're a free agent, he doesn't get nothing. But if you're still contracted to him with him being your advisor, yeah, he still gets his cut. When Eddie Hearn was probed on whether he himself had spoken to Wilder, he didn't deny it, did he? He was asked by ID Boxing if he had spoken to Wilder. He responded possibly. That means whether it was direct contact with Wilder or Finkel, Wilder is open now to a lot of possibilities. I mean, the man will be 38 years of age October this year. He doesn't have time to mess about. He doesn't have time to play network politics. He doesn't have time to bet on himself. He only has time to make the best deals. Every time, make the best deal for yourself. And that's that. And that goes for all the other PBC fighters and any other fighters who've got any other convoluted ideas rather than negotiating the best deal and the best fight where the fans are going to turn up and pay whatever it is, gate, receipts, subscriptions, or pay-per-view. Whatever's going to do that is where you go, and that's what you do. I'd rather see the AJ fight, but it looks like Ngannou has agreed to the Wilder fight. And yo, if they put it up, I'm sure I'm going to be curious to see what hybrid matchup. They're both free or open agents, and they can make a stack load of money together. I don't see how Ngannou wins it. Does he have the boxing craft to win a boxing fight with Wilder? Or even be competitive? I mean, Chael Sonnen, he got involved, but he's a bit of an idiot. He called Wilder a coward for wanting to fight Francis Ngannou in boxing and MMA. How would that make him a coward exactly if he wants to fight him in both disciplines? Wilder suggested a two-fight deal to face Ngannou once in boxing and once in MMA, but this didn't go down well with Sonnen. He called Wilder a powerless dummy, branding him a coward. Oh, he's saying, why don't you take the MMA fight first? Well, why would he do that? If he can get Ngannou in the boxing ring and give himself a little more time to figure out how he's going to negotiate the MMA fight, I understand it. Gamal Yafai took a bit of a beating, didn't he, in that unanimous decision loss to Diego Alberto Ruiz from Argentina. Took a bit of a beating. Good fight, though. Siobhan Clark. I thought his fight got stopped, actually, in the 10th, but, you know, it went the full limit. I had the volume muted, and I thought after the knockdown that it was waved off. A UD win over Israel Dufus, 20 wins, 7-0 going into the fight. Siobhan goes to 5-0. It was a tough fight, but, you know, Siobhan worked it out, scored some knockdowns, and stuck with it. He got buzzed a couple of times, but he won well. It was a good fight. It's exactly the type of fight he needed. Dufus was a late replacement, and I had a feeling he would be tougher than Dex Spillman, who pulled out with injury. And, you know, I just looked at the physique. He looked in shape. He looked focused. And I believe that was a tougher fight than Dex Spillman would have been. Maybe when Dex fit, he can get the payday next time around. Chev is still building his numbers. It's an acceptable fight. But I believe Dufus gave Chev better work than Spillman could. Gary Cully, string bean lightweight, scores another stoppage. Books his place on the Katie Taylor Serrano bill. Gary's now 16-0, 10 stoppages. And he's moving up in the world, is the Irish boy. Dalton Smith, he handled his business against Billy Allington, defending his British light welterweight title. Allington, he was down once and got manhandled and outboxed for the most of it. Dalton was actually lucky not to get penalised more sternly for the body slam. There was no need for it, from what I saw. And he could have actually got DQ'd. In another country, he could have got DQ'd for that. And then the main event, Leigh Wood, ahead on all three scorecards, was knocked out in the 7th round by Mauricio Lara. Very good fight. Leigh chose to hook with the hooker, chanced his arm once too many times, and he paid for it in the 7th. He paid for it. Should the fight have been stopped? 6 or 7 seconds left on the clock. Ben Davison, I guess, is not looking at the clock. He's looking at his fighter, wants to send him back home to his family, healthy and safe. I guess it's hard to argue with the argument that it's better to be safe than sorry. I think he could have carried on in hindsight. At the time, I thought it was the correct stoppage. Even David Adelie's fight on Friday on Frank Warren's card, that was a bit premature, that stoppage. But that's boxing nowadays, isn't it? The boxer's safety has to be a priority. Disappointing for Matchroom, losing 2 featherweight champions in 3 months. Josh Warrington lost to Luis Alberto Lopez, and now Leigh Wood, just after getting elevated to becoming full champion, is stopped by Mauricio Lara. Very disappointing. Not a good run for British boxing right now. Sonny Edwards, Josh Taylor, Lawrence Okoli, Tyson Fury are the only belt holders currently, I believe. World title holders. Anthony Yard, he failed against Beterbiev, and these fights have all been at home. I wouldn't bring Mauricio Lara to Leeds to fight Josh Warrington after Mauricio Lara spat at him from the ring. I don't think it's a good idea, unless they've got security down pack, because it's not a good idea. It's very arrogant and nasty, spitting at people, just my opinion. Leigh Wood, a little reckless at times. In the second, he got hurt, and rather than hold on, let his head clear, he was trying to swing back. He didn't tie up. You know, he swung back and got countered again. Eye was busted, nose was busted. But for the most part, he boxed a very controlled fight behind his jab and his power punches and kept range well. Definitely stunned Lara with a few headshots, and there was the hip shot he didn't like at all, but he couldn't capitalize on that. Lara very tough, a little unorthodox. Actually doesn't throw a lot of leather for a Mexican fighter, but will come with them wild punches from any angle he wants to throw them from. Somewhere you can't even set his feet, he'll throw them and manage to get power in the shots. And he's a dangerous guy. People are blaming Ben Davison. But, you know, Leigh was ahead on the scorecard. Leigh came from a relatively average domestic fighter to winning 2 out of his last 3, and in all 3 he was favoured to lose. He's been a world champion. He can come back again. I think Ben Davison's done a good job. I'm not going to get on the bandwagon. He's done a good job. Leigh Wood, pluses, big featherweight, punches hard, thumping jab, which he utilised from head to body. Maybe sometimes he gets involved too much. He had the tools, in my opinion, to outbox Lara and get the W. Landed a lot of power shots, but perhaps could have been a bit more defensively responsible, a bit cuter. He'd done his best with what he had. Lara, the smaller man, took the punches very well and came back with his own hard shots. It was a good fight. You know, Leigh Wood can come again. I don't know if they'll go for a rematch with Lara, or will Lara move on, or will they make Lara versus Warrington, or will it be Warrington versus Wood? That's a good fight. Very good domestic level fight. I'll be looking forward to that. But yeah, Leigh proved he was world class. That's a positive. He proved he was world class, that he belongs at that level. Lara as a new champion will be exciting because he hits hard. He's got an underrated jab. But he is beatable. Let's keep it real. He is beatable. He timed the finishing punch very well. He threw it lower than he was throwing most of his power punches, his hooks, throughout the fight. And he shortened it as Warrington was throwing his own left hook. Perhaps Warrington shouldn't have been hooking with him, but Warrington wanted to get Lara's respect, and that's the price you pay. Hey, good night's boxing anyway. Good night's boxing. Good fight. HOVHANNISYAN, all them punches from the side like Sergio Mora was saying, hooks, doesn't jab. Tires you out, doesn't it? Tires you out. And it's very impressive early and it's effective, but when the energy levels burn down and you're getting hit with hard shots yourself and you have no jab to keep range, head and body, yeah, it makes it a hard night. Makes it a hard night. It can take a toll. And that's where NERY capitalized and stopped HOVHANNISYAN in the 11th. Floored him in the 10th. NERY did all the facial damage with his shots. He was cut around the eye, busted up around the face. By the end of the fight, it looked a total mess. It looked a total mess. NERY was getting hit, but because he was trying to roll and slip, he rolled a lot of the shots, although getting caught. And often that can be the deciding factor, can't it? NERY was slightly ahead on the scorecards when the fight was stopped. Yeah, very good fight. Very good fight. People are talking about Fight of the Year candidate. RICARDO Sandoval versus Jerson Ortiz. That was another fight that I'll highlight because of the impressive display. This is a flyweight matchup. And Ortiz was a little taller. He's throwing wide slashing punches. Aggressive. Used his head a little illegally, as Sergio Mora pointed out. He called him a dirty fighter, so I think he's seen him more times than I have, and he has a reputation for that. Action really heated up in the second, and both men were really looking to put punctuation marks behind their punches. And Sandoval, he really got there with his. Ironed him out with his left hook to the body, buried him, counted him out, buried him. Beautifully delivered shot. But before that, he landed a couple more hard ones, and he landed a right over the top, which rocked Ortiz. Ortiz also tried to hit him on the break. Well, not tried, he did hit him on the break. And Mora, you know, I watched the fight a couple of times. Yes, the guy is a dirty fighter. He was up against an opponent who really knows how to get his legs underneath them body shots and hurt with them. Leaves himself a little open when throwing them, but that's the excitement factor, I guess. So yeah, impressive second round knockout by RICARDO Sandoval against Jerson Rodriguez on the NERY Navasian card, hosted by Golden Boy. Now I've got the timeline lined out. Rock Nation offered Adrian Broner a 5-year deal for $40 million. He cursed all types of obscenities at Jay-Z and went off on one. He rejected Eddie Hearn's offer in 2018, saying it was a slave deal. But this is the same man who claims his last 6 purses he hasn't seen a check from Al Heyman. That's what he said, right? So that would go all the way back to 2016, right? To the Ashley Theophane fight. He hasn't seen a check. He's only fought 6 times in the last 7 years. So he told Eddie, Al Heyman pays me more than that. That's what he was saying. And now, he's all Al Heyman this, that, pay me $10 million. You want Al Heyman to pay you $10 million and you rejected 40 from Rock Nation in 2016, the same time period that you say Al hasn't paid you a check for them 6 fights since 2016. He reaches out to Eddie Hearn again, who he said offered him a slave deal, and Al Heyman was paying him more than what Eddie offered. The maths are not adding up. So now, his fight that was supposed to take place next week, February the 25th, against Ivan Redkach, he pulled out. He was replaced by Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy, he couldn't make it to the dance. Then this Williams kid pulled out. 3 opponents have pulled out for this BLK Prime debut. And you wonder if it's supposed to happen. They're saying they're rescheduling it for April. And they'll have a new opponent. He already confessed that he had a bad alcohol addiction and he'd wake up drinking alcohol. Has he misplaced or mismanaged his money and now he's looking at Al for answers? Or is Al just this shady boxing guy who's been stealing his money? Some people say that Al Heyman is sabotaging his career and that's why the 3 opponents have pulled out. But I don't believe that.